Wow, 17 seconds goes fast. Okay. I was thinking about, I've been thinking about recording some videos called, let's say, Life 101, to talk about some things that I feel like deserve to be in a class that I wish someone had taught in high school, in college at the beginning, around that time, about a lot of things that I think are just life fundamentals, conceptual fundamentals that no one ever talked about. And in a way, these videos I would take for this are kind of a rough draft for what Life 101 would be about. So today would be the first episode of the first lesson, I guess, micro lesson about work. So this would be the Work 101 first lesson that you're about to see. And work, so welcome to Work 101. And work is interesting. First, I definitely have to define some terms, right? Work, what is work for human beings? Well, I'm not talking about jobs. I'm not talking about money. Because those things already come with like a whole system that we're in, a whole society. I'm just talking about, why do you have to work in the first place, right? Like, why do we have to grow up and work? Why do we have to work at all? What are we doing? Labor, you can call it labor, but even labor is loaded, right? Work is loaded, usually in a negative way, because we don't want to work. We don't want to perform labor. We want to finish our work, get our money, and go home, right? So the question is, why do we do it at all? Why does everyone work? Why do we do that? And there are a lot of ways that I could explain this, but I'm going to try to go down the path that gets me to the lesson I want to teach. So, of course, the thing to start with is there's a responsibility to being alive. And, for example, when you're a child and you're provided for, you're not a neglected child. You're a child that's been provided a home, parents, nurturing, food, shelter. When you're a child and you're born into that embrace, there's sort of an artificial environment created for you. And it's warm, and it's hopefully loving, and it's nurturing, and it's free, right? You're not paying for anything. You're sort of you're loved unconditionally, and you're just like, wow, this is awesome. And I think that's why a lot of people covet childhood. That's why a lot of people love childhood, is because you're so free, right? You can do whatever you want, and your parents are always going to be there to provide for you. You don't need to worry about money or anything like that. But the thing to realize is that is an artificially created environment. That is supported by the energy that your parents and the people around you and the society around you are putting in to keep you safe, to build your shelters, to provide that food. They are like creating a womb for you. If you're a child that's grown up nicely, you are in a womb that is supported in this real world by work, by energy that these human beings are putting in. And again, I'm going to get away from the word work, because the word work is loaded. It makes it sound like work, job. But this goes back all the way to the beginning, right? If you talk about our ancestors, look at an animal, right? You look at animals that are outside. What are they doing most of the time? They're searching for food. They're searching for nuts, berries, whatever, prey. They're surviving. They're putting in energy. When a squirrel is running after a nut, or a bird is diving into the water to get a fish, that's energy they're putting into getting food, right? They're putting energy in. If someone told you to run 50 laps and then they'd give you lunch, you'd be like, okay, well, in a way that's work, right? And in a way you could say that animals are performing work all the time to get food. And so, again, let's not talk about work. Let's just talk about, like, they're putting in energy to do that, right? And so when you have this environment of being a child, and you feel good and safe, and then you're suddenly like, at some point, they say like, okay, well, you're gonna have to enter the real world soon. You're gonna have to, we have to let you out of the nest, and you have to start providing for yourself. What does that mean? What they're saying is like, we are supporting you in this artificial womb, and the real world is the world where those birds and animals and everything are all putting in energy to survive, and this is where you can go two directions. I think a lot of us when we're young, I still carry some of this with me. When you're young, I think a sign of immaturity is you kind of are hostile to the real world. You say like, man, life sucks, life fucking sucks. I have to fucking work. I hate my job or whatever, like you like reject the idea of working because you're just like, I don't want to, like when I was a kid, life was good and now it's hard and I don't like it, Of course, we're not going to get into the fact that our society right now is not doing honorable work. I would say a lot of the time we're just working for the sake of working, which is not good. And I'm not talking about that. I'm saying on a basic level, when you have someone who's just, 18, 19, 20, and they're like, I don't want to go work, right? That's a natural, so it's not something to be judged for, but it's a natural, immature response to going into the world of the birds and the animals that have to survive, and you have to put in energy to survive. Even if you were on some beautiful paradise island, you would still have to build a shelter. You'd still have to build a fire. You'd still have to find food. I don't think there's been any point yet in human evolution, up to this phase in humanity where we've just been born. I can't think of a single place in the world where you could have been born and put in no energy to survive. You still have to pick fruit. You still have to find fresh water. You still have to build a shelter. That's always been a part of living. That responsibility to just be warm, to have light. At nighttime, to have those things, you have to put in energy. You have to put in energy, and this is what gets to the more mature response, which is you can embrace that. You can, if you instead of rejecting it, which is the immature response, if you embrace work and you say like, this is my survival, and it's not like, yeah, like I'm gonna fucking survive. I don't think it's that macho attitude. I'm not really talking about that. It's just acceptance. If you just say like, I accept that I must give energy out to survive, and that's not just something you can say. That's really like a way of being, right? It's a humbleness. It's sort of a balanced being who really embraces and appreciates who they are and what they do, that they can say like, I understand that I must put in energy to enjoy and be alive, because it's a responsibility to exist. You don't just get to exist, at least so far in our evolution. You have to put in energy to survive. And so in a way, the immature response is to reject that. But in a way, you're rejecting gravity. You're rejecting the way things are. And on the other hand, you're embracing it. You're embracing what it is. And this is where it also kind of starts to bleed into what we could say about today and the attitudes people have when people work. Again, I'm not going to go too deep into it, and I'll save it for another lecture. We in this society are not working efficiently. We are working too much, I believe, and we are not working efficiently, etc., etc. There are a lot of fucking problems with the way we work, because right now we are working just to work. People right now don't have the attitude of, this like humble, honest, like I'm putting in my work because I'm a human being that needs to. I think a lot of people do, don't get me wrong, but especially young people. We don't have that attitude. And if you see what a lot of young people want to do, it's usually some version of getting rich quickly. It's some version of making a lot of money fast, And what is that? That's again, they get excited about being a millionaire before they're 30. Why is that? It's still a manifestation of that young attitude of like, I don't want to work. I want to be a multimillionaire because I don't want to put in energy. I just want to be, like, have a bunch of energy given to me, or I want to earn it all. And I just don't, I just want to buy a house and just be able to rent it. Why is that? It's still all of us carrying what I believe is an immature rejection of the fact that to survive, you need to put in energy. So even adults, a lot of people, I'd say the majority of people have some version of an immature relationship to life and the energy you have to put in, including myself. I mean, I fucking, it's hard to wake up in the mornings. But for me, the mature response that I'm trying to cultivate for myself is, can you make the work? And it's not about being a workaholic, right? It's not about pushing yourself and drinking 5 cups of coffee a day and it's not about that. It's just about the fact that, like, I know I have to eat well and move my body to stay healthy. But I don't want to do that because I'm like gonna run and like exercise and push myself so much. Can I find a way to like embrace it so that I'm naturally moving all the time and I forget that I'm even exercising? I'm not exercising. I'm just, the way I'm being is fulfilling my need to move, if that makes sense. That's a bit of a tangent. I didn't want to go too far on that. I've covered the main points. The point of, life is to give that energy and survive. And a lot of us who are young, this is a recap, a lot of us who are young, I think, in some version or another, are trying to pursue a path that is driven by I want to basically get to the point that I'm a child again. I want to have so much money that I don't have to work, right? Or we are over here and we're just rejecting it and we're kind of like avoiding real life and we're just, doing the job we have to and then hating our job and then like, trying to get away from it, right? But either end of that is not really what I think is the mature response, which is just to say, like, how can I articulate my life so that I'm investing energy in a way that is going to, I guess, be honorable and fulfill the needs for my survival. Let's put it that way. Let's see, does that cover everything? Yeah, and I guess the final point I'll make, as long as this thing is fucking going long anyway, because they always go long, is we're, just a little footnote, we'll probably get into it more later, but we're in a society right now where we work the fucking shit out of ourselves, and in a way, the generation before us, I think, almost glorifies work so much. So like, you gotta work, and it started from a good place. It started from the understanding that to have a nice society, to have a good society, you do have to work. They got it. They understood that. But they're also kind of running us into the ground right now because, sorry, my camera went out, so I have to finish quick. We do not, the reason we work is to stay alive, to get ourselves to the point that we can enjoy life. We don't have to worry about heat and safety and all those things. So what we're doing now as a society is we've gotten to that point and we kept going. Like we got to the point where we could all have enough food and all that stuff and be good with like 2 days of working per week. But instead we kept going and we kept working for the sake of work and we kept building shit for the sake of building shit. And instead of our parents sort of giving us this idea of like, you have to work honorably, but then when you're done working, you have to enjoy your life. Instead, they kind of went work and then work and then work and then work because they just didn't quite understand that there is a limit. And the limit is like, once you're done working, the purpose of working is not to work. It's to support life and it's to support the living